when the flag drops, the bullshit stops. You know.
We're going to learn a bit more about Ron Blackmer because I want to meet the guy that said, when the flag drops, the bullshit stops. What did you mean by that, Mr. Ron Blackmer?
You forget everything then. All you worry about is getting under the flag.
Your buddy Randy Anderson talks about the fact that this Youngsville, Pennsylvania native racked up 133 feature wins in the sportsman division, almost 3 times more than his closest competitor. Also won 4 sportsman championships at Stateline, 6 at Erie's, along with 4 at SC Circuit Sportsman's Championships, etc., including 62 second-place finishes and 26 third. You won so much and so often. Was there a point where it was getting more difficult to win?
Well, yeah, it was tough. I remember once, though, the paper or the media destroys you, you know. They'd always pick me to win, and, I hated that. And I'd won 19 in a row, and finally my flywheel bolts broke, and I was so glad that was over. I couldn't stand it. I was sick when I started racing. Every night. And then they say, "What's the matter? Didn't you want to win tonight?" I went with a girl, and her dad drove, Frank Roman.
Okay. So you go with this particular girl, you go to the garage, you see him, working on a car?
Yeah.
And then do you say, here's the keys, go?
No. No, I built Sportsman first, and it took me a year to build it in his garage. And then I was afraid to start running it. He picked on me, and so then we went to Rollerball. And of course, back them days, my car was light, and I was little. And it was really outclassing them cars, it wasn't me. Well, I got a third the first week, and then I won the championship the second week. I got $14, and some girl kissed me, and I got a trophy. $14.
The 61 Chevy was part of a 3-car effort for owner Frank Ruhlman. Number 2, Hyle Russell, and number 4, Ron Blackmer, were his teammates. Kisco's championship was the 3rd for Ruhlman in the past 4 years.
Harder than all of us put together. He came up power per weight ratio. Weight is horsepower. He gutted them things out to nothing clear back in them days. I would just cut them from behind the back seat and the driver's seat and put the tin over them, and it was just a shell running around there.
He got every little piece out of it that looked like that he could get away with cutting it out of it. Right. He scraped all the undercoating off of it. He cut nuts in half. He had us cutting nuts in half to put on shock absorbers. It didn't even have a washer on, just nut. Save weight. And
the rest of us got great big old heavy old cars, 9,000 horsepower, and he'd go right on by us.
With Frank and how did they connect, and Eddie and those guys?
Well, me and Frank went up the track with must have been 55 or 57 Chevy, and I wasn't driving it then, and Frank was going to drive it, and he went out and he won the heat, and I think he won the semi, but Hyle blew up a car that Dean Layfield used to drive, 58 Chevy. Frank to let him drive the car, and I told Frank I want you to drive it, and he said, well, we're guaranteed our $100 we let Hyle drive. I said, you already won the heat in the semi. I said, you can win the feature, but he could let Hyle drive it, and then he'd become our driver, but Frank could have done it.
3 drivers, you're the young kid of the group.
Yeah.
And so every week you would have to prepare 3 cars.
Yeah, we did. And Leonard used to get mad. Some nights we'd get first, second, third, and he said, you took all the money, but we were there for every night, too.
Right. The Frank Ruhlman team, did that exist, or just 3 guys racing against each other?
No, hey, we didn't look out for one another. We beat each other,
Yeah. Who was your hero? I mean, you're watching that. I mean, Bobby?
Them old guys like Sammy, they didn't like me. There you go.
Yeah. He just left because of what you said.
When I started, I did everything in my little car. And then after Frank quit, I drove for Punk and Bob. Punk and Bob had a second car, and I drove that. And then we had Jim Morrison and Punk Van Gilder and Carol Groves. And there was no crew wanted to mess with my crew. They were fighters. In fact, halftime my fault. They had the guy on the ground when I got in here.
Did you ever get in a fight?
Oh, many times. But I usually just let my crew take over. They seem to know more about it than I did. I never had much of a crew. You do it yourself, and if it don't work, it's your fault. But you know what the old man said, one kid some help, 2 kids no help, and 3 kids no help at all. So the smaller your crew, the better off you are.
Yeah.
I remember one time, Squirt, after the race, he come over and, "You're going to get yours." Squirt always run the inside. So when I come along about 23rd lap, I'm on the outside, and he decides to go outside. So then I ducked it inside, and somehow I spun him out. And it was his fault, wasn't mine. He cut me right off. I couldn't have stopped. And he, after that, we were the best buds there ever were.
Well, you know, we've always heard about certain drivers who had sort of a quick hair trigger. The Fanale brothers.
Definitely.
Yeah. Were there other ones you?
Tom.
Yeah.
That's all you needed. Tom was good, but me and him had one bad. In '64, he had that Meadowcroft Dodge. It was pretty good. And of course, we had Chevelle. We won the points that year, but he was on me every time he had a chance. He'd reel me, and I went over and I told him, I said, "Next time you touch me, you're going to get it." I had him lined up. He hit me going down the back straightaway in Erie, and I had him lined up. I'm going to put him right in the pit. There's no way I'm going to hit him as hard as I can. And what's he do? He spikes it, pulls in front of me. Now I'm going full bore into the pit. Of course, you know, they're laughing. But it was good for racing. If he didn't win, he'd hit the telephone pole or something, make some excitement. Dick Litz and Larry Parmenter. I was running second, and Pink Poodle there, they call him. Marty Rader was out front in that pink Ford. And Litz and Parmenter, they come together right in front of me, coming out of the second turn, and just dust. So they disappeared in the infield. I never lifted. Somehow they got back out there. Anyway, I rammed it full bore. And I was waiting. I didn't have the front roll bar padded yet. I tried to get up there, that roll bar, but I couldn't. But when you hit something, I guess your neck stretches like crazy. It opened my forehead here. And I was down for about 2 weeks. But at that time, I had Bobby drive my car. And he did good. But that was the only time I ever got hurt.
Point tabulations revealed that although Squirt had won 5 features to his 3, Ron Blackmer's other more consistent finishes were enough to make the 23-year-old the Stateline champion. Blackmer's consistently good finishes resulted in the track championship for the driver of the Ford Junior. The mechanical wizardry of Frank Ruhlman, combined with the driving talent of Ronnie Blackmer, had resulted in 2 track titles in the same year.
I had it pretty well made for a long time, and Skip, my buddy, he was tough. And Pyler come along, he made me really pay attention.
The Sportsmen Class was thoroughly dominated by Ronnie Blackmer in '65. The defending champion sold his title-winning buggy and built an even better mousetrap. The Ford Junior won an amazing 10 of the 15 feature races en route to a second consecutive track title.
Well, I won 102 features with that one Sportsman.
Talk about that car. What was it? What did you have in it?
It was a 37 Chevy, just 6-cylinder. I just ran stock. I did a lot of head work, but I mostly ran just stock Chevy 6. And then at 235 it started, and then it was the 230s and 62 come out with the 292. Then I bought Bob's truck motor in 63. He had on a record and he didn't like it. He put a V8 in, and I bought that 292. And Fred Clark had already had one, and I had to have one because that thing would turn and good.
All hail Ron Blackmer, king of the coupes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Blackmer.
Thank you.